In these days of COVID, there's often signs that we need to keep 2 metres apart. I'm not quite sure how long this brush is, but I have seen people walking along carrying poles to measure the appropriate distance from another person. And that reminded me of a story that in a book that my father gave me. It's a little blue book, blue hardback, and I think it was called Youth Praise. I'm not sure. But he gave it me years and years and years ago. And in it there was a story I've always remembered. And it went like this. A man died and he went to heaven. And when he got to the gates of heaven, St. Peter asked him, "Have you one last wish?" And the man said, "Yes, I would like to see what hell was like." And so the man was led down the corridors, and he was led to look into this huge room. And it was a beautiful room, and down the middle there was a table with all the finest foods on it. And yet all the people either side of the table were really hungry. They were so hungry and they were so miserable. And the man looked at St. Peter and he said, "Well, we have a rule here that if you want to eat, you have to eat with chopsticks 6 feet long and hold them at one end. And you just can't do that and get the food into your mouth." And so the man left there and he went back through the corridors and he went back and he came to another door, and this said heaven. And he looked in and it was an identical room. There was the same long table. There was the same magnificent foods on the table. And yet all the people were so happy. And he looked at St. Peter and said, "Well, no chopsticks here, I suppose." And St. Peter smiled and said, "No, it's the same rules. You eat with chopsticks 6 feet long and you hold them at one end. But in heaven, you see, people have learned that if you feed your neighbour, they will also feed you."